So
you can ask me also a question about how to heal stuff or whatever.
Do you think not loving ourselves is something to be healed?
Let me see. Yes, it's something to be healed because we never learned to love ourselves because we didn't receive enough love, enough attention. We love to criticize ourselves and bring ourselves down. And you can see in society, most people do that. They bring themselves down all the time. And maybe you do that. So as you heal it, you learn to have a better relationship with yourself. Even if yourself is a bit illusory, but that's another question. Because there's no self, as they say in Buddhism. But yeah, you learn to have a better relationship with yourself. And that way you're more functional in the world and in your life, and you don't suffer because you don't bring yourself down. You bring yourself up and you trust that you're capable. And that is something to heal, yeah.
And how did you learn to love yourself?
It's a long process. I don't claim that I fully love myself to the fullest. I still have some blind spots, some triggers, things to heal. But it's much, much better than the past. So how did I do it? Simply by learning that me criticizing myself is actually unnecessary. What does it bring to my life? Nothing. Me bringing myself down is unnecessary. What does it bring to my life? Nothing. It just causes unnecessary suffering. And that's the right view, is to understand that most of the things we do that create problems are created by us, ourselves with ourselves. And so when you realize that it's just pointless, then you stop doing it. And you train your mind to stop going into this over and over again. And to remain centered without falling into self-negativity, self-hatred. That's how you love yourself. And also by reuniting with what is suppressed within you about yourself. Making peace with parts of you that you've disowned, that you've put in the back of your mind to never look at them again. And that's how you become whole and build up self-love. You build up self-love by understanding that your shadows that are against you are actually not against you. They need to be reintegrated. They need your love. That's how you build self-love. You become one with yourself.
But it's controversial because if you don't love yourself, then you don't want to give that love, that you don't want to love that part, those parts.
I see.
And also self-criticism and self-hatred, do you think is the same thing, or what do they have in common?
So self-criticism is a form of self-hatred. It's just mild, you could say. It's not as intense as some people that really hate themselves. They cannot even look at themselves in the mirror. That was the case for me in the past. So self-criticism is a form of self-hatred. It's just less intense. But it's still a self-hatred. When you criticize yourself, you assume that you're not good enough, that you shouldn't like yourself. Now, the other question you ask is very, very good question, is how can I love myself if I don't love myself in the first place? How can I love my parts if I don't have self-love? Then there's no love to give. That makes a lot of sense. So by really connecting with these parts of us and learning to see them without judging them, you will feel the innocence of them. You will see how they're just trying to be happy. And if you let yourself be touched by this, you will develop care for these parts. And the more you care about them, the more you're going to love. The first step is care. It's like if a kid is angry, you can care about the kid because the kid is suffering. And that's how you view your own parts. They are suffering. You can care about them. They're trying their best. And then, if you care deep enough, you will build self-love. But we have to go deep into this.
I don't know how to ask this question, but I was thinking, like, let's go one step even further. So what is self-love in the first place? How can you practice self-love to not make it from a place of the mind? And what do you get even in touch with to feel the self-love? Because if I'm just sitting in my room thinking about, okay, I don't love myself, maybe I should love these parts in me, that's just, as I see, it's more like about the control. And it's not that genuine, deep core self-love that I'm seeking, which is already a problem that I'm seeking.
So can you put it back into like
One question.
to make it more sure, because I'm not sure to fully understand.
Basically, how to find genuine self-love. What is self-love in the first place?
So first we have to understand that what we call self is not a fixated thing within the body. It's a process. It's an ongoing transformation. You are always changing. So when we try to love ourselves, we're like stuck in this fixated view, and we don't know what to love. It's blur, like who am I to like, it doesn't make sense. So first we have to notice that what we're talking about when we talk about self is a kind of developmental activity within the body that evolves, that changes, that readjusts itself, that is in constant change. And when we understand that, we understand that it's not a thing that we're trying to love, that is called self. It's more like, how do we get in touch inside of us to a place that is beyond the self, that is life itself, that is non-judgmental. The awareness behind your thoughts is not judgmental. It's just observing your thoughts, observing the self, developing itself. So if we are the awareness, we naturally will have love for the self, because the awareness doesn't have judgments. Only the self with itself has judgments. Only the ego has judgments. Does that make sense? So you get in touch with this place that is conscious of the self. Right now you're conscious that you have a self, right? Yeah. That which is conscious is pure love. You might not feel it yet, but it's a loving gaze.
So the part that is doing the loving is not even you, it's the consciousness.
Exactly. But you are the consciousness. That's the thing. You feel stuck? Why?
Why does it not feel the love then? The consciousness? It's because I'm not the consciousness in that moment.
That's because you're not deep enough into it. You know that there's a consciousness, but you don't feel the loving radiance of the consciousness yet. You're surface level on the consciousness, you could say. So instead of being like me against me, which is what we do when we try to do self-love, like a part of me trying to love another part of me. But that's not the way. The way is to go, okay, who am I beyond the me? I'm just awareness, I'm consciousness, I'm pure existence. And from that place, when you observe the me, we can care about it because it's part of us. It's part of life. Why shouldn't we care of what's part of life? We care about animals. We care about plants. We can care about us humans.
Makes sense. Thank you. Well, I want to hear more about you. The self-love topic has been discussed.
It's a good topic.
We can get back, but I want to hear what is it that you are struggling right now the most with?
So I'm not struggling per se like before. I also struggle a lot in my life. I wouldn't call that struggle, but there are some things. The main thing at the moment is to heal the wound of not receiving unconditional love from my parents. One of the most important things at the moment, which we all have, by the way. We all have suffered from this. Most humans didn't receive enough love from their parents, or at least a conditional love, that if you do this, I will love you. If you listen to me, I will love you. And that's traumatizing for a child. So that's what I'm healing at the moment, just to open my heart more. That's the main thing. And the second thing is to also rebuild my trust in men, because I've been abused by men a lot in my life. So I need to feel safe with men and trust them. You can cut it, no worries. You need to stop.
This is just running. What is guiding you most through this healing process?
What do you mean?
Like what makes you moving?
Very good question. What makes me move is my experience that I know that by doing this work, I'll be free from suffering. I know, looking at the past years, that the more I heal myself on a deeper level, and the more I'm happy, the more I'm at peace, the more I live in oneness with all life, and the more I live a stable life that is functional, where there's no self-sabotage, no inner resistances, no fears, no struggle, no miseries, no anxiety. And I know by experience that the deeper I go, the more I'm free. So that's what fuels me, the first thing. And the second thing is a deep existential desire for truth, for enlightenment, or like being conscious and transcending all suffering. It's my main drive in life. It has always been, even when I was a kid, but I didn't know it fully. It was always there in the background. I had the spiritual experiences as a kid.
Like what spiritual experiences?
As a kid, when I was like 4 years old, I was laying in my bed and I had a very intense fear of death. Suddenly I took over and I realized, well, if I die, then there's nothing. And I got very scared of dying. And I yelled to call my mother. I was like, I'm gonna die. And my mother was watching a movie, so she couldn't hear me. So then I was alone in the room yelling, help. And at some point she heard it and she came, she helped me and stuff. But the first moment where I realized, and I was very young, I realized that I'm gonna die. That was my first spiritual experience, even though it was not feeling very spiritual, but I faced death in a way, suddenly. Yeah. And from a very young age, I had this kind of quest for peace. It started to rise even as a young kid. I was looking for the deepest peace possible.
I'm getting out of questions. By the way, about the kids and fear, I think all kids have it. I don't want this to be included. I just want to say to you, I think all kids have like an existential crisis, and when they first realize that that exists. I also remember I had a phase like this when I was constantly asking my family, "But you're gonna die? You're gonna die?" Like, and being also scared that I will die.
Yeah, there's nothing special about my experience. I'm not saying just no more fear, but I consider it as a kind of first step into understanding what is death and this stuff.
As a kid, I don't think I realized like how it's like in any way. That's why I didn't realize. I just got scared of it. The kids get scared of it, so that's why I said.
Yeah, because when you're a kid, you develop the self. At a young age, you start developing an identity of who I am, and then you realize that you can lose it. So that's when you have the first kind of fear of death starting. But before that, before you create an identity, you're not scared of death. Like the little babies who are like 2 years old, they're not scared of death because they're simply living and they don't have a self, they don't have an ego.
The thing is, if I just ask random questions, it's gonna be a little bit like all over the place. Like it doesn't have one direction. Then you don't get like one whole material. Because like I ask a question about love, then I ask a question about that.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
You like when it's like this?
Yeah.
Like all over the place?
Yeah. Do you genuinely have other questions or no? Because you can stop.
I'm thinking.
You want to know anything about my personal experiences?
My question, let's say then, how did your mental abilities evolve with meditation and even like cognitive abilities, your memory or imagination or anything?
Yeah, that's a super cool question. I love it. My mental abilities. I don't have so many. I have always struggled with concentration in my life, and I was thinking, Did meditation help me with concentration? Not that much.
All of that work.
All of that work for nothing. No, but it helped me with kind of making decisions more easily, seeing more clearly things, not being confused in my mind, knowing, okay, that's the right way, like just intuitively. It helped me with being equanimous. So when something happens, I can stay stable. I'm not going crazy, I mean, it depends. But yeah. So for people watching, I've been meditating for 5 years, around, I would say, 1 hour a day, which is pretty much beginner if you look at people who meditated for all their life, right? So that's just my experience. So yeah, I will read that, and yeah, my mind is much more clear. That's the main thing.
This is like a very cliche question, but looking back, what was the mistakes that you made
In life?
in your career? No, like in the healing journey.
Oh, yeah, very good question. Wow, there were some mistakes that I made, a lot of mistakes. One of the main mistakes, I would say, is the trap of feeling is healing. So it's just about constantly feeling your feelings, constantly. I have a problem, I'm gonna feel, and it's like it becomes an addiction to feeling.
Wait, this is not the way. I'm doing that mistake right now.
No, it depends where you are. In the beginning, it's very good to feel, but at some point there comes a point where you start to have to also to grow up and to understand that your feelings are created by your own beliefs, and if you don't let go of the beliefs, they will always come up to bother you. So yes, it's important to feel, but we have to feel and develop at the same time psychologically. And the big mistake is to be in kind of for example, you have fear and you feel the fear, which is, it's not really the way. Like with fear, the way out of fear is to pierce through it, is to let go of what's blocking you, the resistance. Because if you feel the fear, you're just scared. Basically.
But why does it not work with sadness? Why does it work with sadness then? If you feel the sadness, then you're just sad.
Because in my experience, sadness can really be processed in the body, because you cry, it can be digested, but the fear is more like a kind of psychological how to say, blind spot, or like a kind of mentally
Because when I did the work with Kyle, we did process fear in a way that I remember I've said to him, I'm feeling fear, and then he would say, okay, it's allowed to feel fear, etc. So it's also like,
yes, that's the distinction. It's allowed to feel fear. It's good to be with it in your body, to allow it in your body. But if you keep feeling it over and over again without changing the way you look at things, that's what I mean, it's never going to stop. It's not enough, or it's not efficient enough. That was one main mistake. You can share others.
okay.
Another big mistake was to transcend my problems instead of facing them, was spiritual bypassing. So you meditate to go into a space beyond your mind and try to avoid and get connected to life, whatever. And by doing that, you're actually avoiding your problem. You're trying to get out of it. And I realized it's much more efficient to actually use your meditation as a way to face your problem, to really observe it and dismantle it, and learning where it's coming from. So to not bypass and be like, a kind of spiritual junkie, always looking for states that are a bit pleasant, and actually face your human problems. That was a big mistake also I made. But I think it's normal to make this mistake, and everyone does it. It's part of the journey.
And how about breakthroughs? What were the main breakthroughs that helped you overcome things and not push through, but evolve?
There were many, many breakthroughs. The first one was when I realized during my meditation that I was not my mind. That was the main breakthrough, the first breakthrough that led to awakening. I realized that my thoughts were talking by themselves. And I was seeing them. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was me. And when I say, wait a minute, I thought this was me, it's not a thought. It's just like an observation, like, wait, it's talking by itself like a radio. And I realized, and suddenly I dropped into a kind of space where there was no personal self, and I was looking at my mind. And that was my first big breakthrough. I would say that another breakthrough that I had is that when I understood that I could heal with my body. That was a big breakthrough. When I understood that I could go into my body, pay attention to my body, and feel what's happening there, and use yoga or bioenergetics to face my emotional problems. And when I started to integrate and embody myself into my body and live from that place instead of from my mind, it changed a lot of things. And then you have breakthroughs regularly, but it's part of the path also. You know, the idea that you will have one breakthrough one day that will change everything, it's a bit bullshit. Most of the progress is made day to day by just consistently making progress, not by seeking the best breakthrough ever, you know? This common misconception.
Can I have a selfish question now?
Yeah.
About myself.
Yeah.
I recently became aware of this restlessness in me, which constantly seeks something, and I don't know what does it seek. It's like a very deep, endless dissatisfaction with how things are, and I was thinking first that is it the mind, but now I'm also thinking if it's the mind, then it's a good thing because this is what's keeps me going through the healing path. So, but at the same time, it's causing me suffering.
So that's the part of the three characteristics of existence in Buddhism. The first one is impermanence. Everything is impermanent. Everything changes. The second one is that there is no self. Life is not personal. And the third one is that there is suffering. So there is insatisfaction. It's part of life, if you will, this sense of being dissatisfied. And yes, it's the mind. It's the seeking mind. The mind is never satisfied. It wants more. It wants better. And that's an unconscious part within us. That's an unconscious mechanism. Now, a big reason why this is happening is also because of childhood trauma, because you didn't fulfill your needs. And so you're unconsciously seeking your needs in multiple directions and things as an adult. But as you fulfill your needs and you learn to love your inner child and fulfill the needs of safety, of belonging, of connection, you will feel more and more satisfied by reuniting with yourself. So it's also part of the healing process, but it's also the mind. And so when we live in the present moment, there is no dissatisfaction. There's only dissatisfaction if we go into the future of we want something better later, something more later. But if you are with me now, fully now, you will see that your dissatisfaction will reduce. If you're conscious now, if you're conscious, you go out of your mind, or you rise above your mind, and you cannot be dissatisfied anymore. Does that make sense?
I think I'm in the present moment right now, but I still feel the dissatisfaction. It's in my chest.
Yeah, so I think for you it's more like an emotional thing that comes from a sense of lack. Is there a sense of lack? Yeah, there's a sense of lack. So that's what I mean when the needs are not fulfilled. Probably you feel like you lack. What do you lack?
I feel that, well, this is what's not very clear, but I would say something more meaningful, something deeper. Depth is lacking always.
Okay, then there's not a need from the inner child. If you want something deeper, it's more like a sense of, it's the mind. Just the mind that is not satisfied with life because we are not in touch with our true self, with who we are truly. This sense of dissatisfaction will lead you to seek for something deeper, which is a good thing. It's a mechanism of life that is pushing you back to itself by being dissatisfied, by realizing that you cannot be satisfied in this world. It's impossible. So you have to go within yourself. So this search for depth is a sign of maturity, that you have this maturity to actually look within yourself and find another answer than having more things, having better things.
I am hungry.
Very good question. So hunger comes when the inner child.
Yeah, it's been 13 minutes.